Russia's most feared criminal. Let's watch this one.
Today's story sounds...
I'm the best mod. You're one of two mods. You don't have a lot of competition. I'll let you know that now. But I will say this. Ghost has banned someone already. So really, I mean, if we're talking about mod, making sure that the community's safe, he technically has done the modding a lot. But it's okay. I don't play favorites.
exactly like an...
All right. Okay. So we're watching Russian Most Feared Criminal, mature audience only. So be mature, guys, okay? I'm the most feared criminal in Russia. This is about you? No, I'm the best. Hey, you, hey. Hey, I got nothing to do with me. You guys saw that amongst each other. I got nothing to do with that.
urban legend. It sounds too exaggerated, too grotesque, too terrifying to be real. But
Yes, Mr. Ballen.
it is. This is the true story of the Bitsevsky Park
He won up to me on that.
maniac. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format,
am.
then you've come to the right place, because that's all
We
we
all
do,
came
and
to
we
the right
upload
place.
once or twice.
You
every
came
week.
to the right
So if that's
place.
of interest to you, please offer to help build the Like Button's new dresser they just got from IKEA.
I will.
And as soon as you open it up, immediately find all the screws, strip them all, and then leave. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications.
Mr. Ballen is about to say, he's about to tell us the worst possible story of human existence after telling us to fix this hypothetical like buttons dresser. What you drinking? I just had a bottle somewhere. I poured it in the glass because I'm fancy. Arizona sweet tea. I didn't even know there was Arizona. I've been sipping this for a minute, but tink your glasses. And if you don't have a glass, well, that's pass me some through the screen. I don't have any in the bottle, so I don't backwash as much as most people do. So go ahead, get yourself a sip. Go ahead, get yourself a little sip. Take a swig. Go ahead. Don't be shy. Get some. There you go. You feeling a little bit dizzy? A little bit woozy.
So you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
Oh, wait, okay. I'm sorry I keep pausing, but Flash, you weren't here for a minute. I have to show you all the new things that happened to the stream. I have a stream deck now, which means I can do almost anything I want to in life. Watch this. If I can turn this whole stream into a sitcom if I wanted to. If I was like, oh, is that, wait, I think it is right. Is that Flash? Man, looks like I see why they call you the Flash. I was here for the deal time stop. Okay, so you got the gist of it basically. You're basically you're caught up. But low key, wearing socks when you sleep, I understand the hatred of it. I get it. But I'm just saying, it's not that bad. Like sometimes it'd be like cold nights where my toes be like a little bit cold. And socks can just really be there for you. Zerwaldo. I made the time stop and the Zerwaldo two separate things, just so I can just.
You're such a silly.
Okay, we don't need to listen to that one. Okay, let's continue the video. Act like it didn't happen. I did it when I'm cold. Yeah, it has to be like extremely cold for me to wear socks.
Moscow, Russia, which is one of the world's richest cities, is home to more billionaires than any other European city. But if you travel just 10 miles
Silly
south of
baka.
Moscow's richest neighborhood, the Golden Mile, you will reach one of Russia's poorest neighborhoods, the southern Moscow suburbs.
We living there, guys?
Nicknamed
Close?
Zhopamira, which means the soul of the world, these suburbs used to be a thriving...
The what? The what of the world?
which means the soul of...
So if you live in here, right? What I'm supposed to assume is that if you live in here, you're living in some of the grungiest places in all of Russia. Like if you ever talking to a female and you're like, or a girl, sorry, and she's like, "Oh yeah, where are you from?" I live in southern suburbs of Moscow. She's gonna probably spit in your face, kick you in your balls, and then steal your money and then run away and call the police and get you arrested for living there. In my mind, this is the Gotham of Russia. This is where Batman truly deals his dirtiest deaths.
of the world, these suburbs used to be a thriving neighborhood with tens of thousands of working-class Russians and their families calling it their home. But after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, the money and the jobs in this area dried up completely, and even though the residents wanted to relocate and live somewhere with more opportunity, they couldn't. They didn't have the resources to leave, and so they were trapped. And since 1991, really nothing has changed in these suburbs. Today, there are still tens of thousands of now very poor Russian families that still live there, living in these totally overcrowded Soviet apartment buildings that are these big
Okay. Oh, okay. She's gonna call you a silly baka, take your spare change that you took forever to acquire. But I mean, like, does this really look that poor? I mean, besides these buckets, but like, maybe I just lived in some poor places. Because this doesn't look too bad. I mean, all this needs a paint job, and this looks like a regular average day apartment complex. Right? Right? What are these? Are these little telephone poles? How do you play on this?
where identical looking things that are literally falling
and
apart.
I bet I stretched this
and most of the people who live in these suburbs either are unemployed or they work some dead-end job that barely pays them any money. The police in the suburbs are completely underfunded and for the most part are corrupt. And so crime over the years has really taken a dramatic uptick. Also, drug and alcohol abuse are completely running rampant.
Cold toast for you tonight.
But despite their
Yo, oh wait, I forgot I have the voice thing now. Sorry, I keep getting distracted, and low-key, y'all just gotta work with me. I'm pretty sure.
Wait, did it work? Do I sound different? Do I sound menacing? Do I sound scary?
I hope it sounds different, because if it doesn't, then I'm really making a fool. Bane? Okay, you guys can't hear it. Okay, now imagine, right? I need you guys to put yourself in this position. Here, wait a second. I need you guys to really put yourself in this position, right? You're walking home. You live in these apartments. You're walking home. You think everything's gonna be a nice, cool night in Russia, whatever, right? You come home and just, you turn that corner and just something hits your knee. You're like, yeah, hit the ground, boom, right? And then you're like, what just happened? And you look up, and all you hear is just some little ass kid, just like,
hey yo, run your pockets. I'm taking all your change and your socks. Run 'em. Cold toes for you tonight.
like, what are you gonna do? It's basically raps. Cause okay, if you fight back, I don't know how it is in Russia. I shit myself my toes. Fiend, my spare change. But like, you can't win. If you fight the kid, you're losing publicly. But if you just take the L, you're out of socks and change. So what are you about to do? Me personally, I'm putting my hands on them kids. I'm sorry. Look. Under this situation of me getting robbed by these little kids, this completely hypothetical situation that Flash has just made up, I'm, you know, I gotta do it. I got to. It's my ninja way.
Their notoriously rough living situation in the southern Moscow suburbs, these residents do have one claim to fame, and that is the Bitsevsky Park. Bitsevsky Park is comprised primarily of a massive, lush green forest that is full of wildlife and beautiful streams and clearings, and it sits right on the southern edge of the southern Moscow suburbs. In total, the park covers a whopping 2,700 acres and stretches 4 miles from top to bottom.
What? I know I'm stupid.
The southern Moscow
I know I don't
suburbs.
know much about
In total, the park covers a whopping.
I don't want to accidentally hit them and risk my change scattering like Sonic coins.
2,700.
What's a hectare?
Acres and stretches 4 miles from top to bottom, which makes it 3 times bigger than New York City's famous Central Park. Bitsevsky Park had always been a popular tourist destination for people living around Moscow, but after the fall of the Soviet Union, the park's popularity skyrocketed, specifically amongst people that lived in the southern Moscow suburbs. As their lives continued to become more bleak in the 1990s, they compensated by going to the park as much as they possibly could. They would take long walks in the woods, they would play chess with their friends along the peripheries on the park benches and tables, or they'd go cross-country skiing in the...
This man looks like a JoJo's character. Not because of what he's wearing, just the way he's posing. He just posed like he's a part of JoJo's, you know? Like, that looks like, he's gonna be like... I don't want to keep relying on these voices. I'm only gonna use one more voice. Damn, only 3 minutes. I just gotta...
along the peripheries on the park benches and tables, or they'd go cross-country skiing in the winter. Basically, year-round, this park became their escape from their miserable everyday lives. But that would not last. Starting in the early 2000s, something totally unexplainable and terrifying began happening in the park, specifically in the heavily forested area in the park. And eventually, this unusual event that was taking place got so completely out of hand that the residents of the southern Moscow suburbs stopped going in the park. They were literally too scared to go inside. The strange phenomenon began in 2000.
I'm sorry. I know I said I'm not going to pause it as much, but I just thought about this because Flash said something about Bigfoot. Oh, let me guess. Bigfoot joined the KGB. But okay, you're in the forest, right? You're in the forest, you're walking. It can be daytime, it can be nighttime. It's up to you guys. And you're walking, and Bigfoot just walks, not even runs, walks up to you. And he's like, all he says, he doesn't sound intimidating. All he's like, look, you're just a regular guy, I get that. But I want to run hands with somebody. So put your knucks up. And you have to fight Bigfoot. You have to fight. There is no out. There is no run. There is no nothing. You have to fight Bigfoot. Do y'all think you're winning? Do y'all think y'all boxing Bigfoot? And do you think you're going to make it out like as the victor? Because I'm not going to lie. I feel like Bigfoot traversed the forest quite swiftly with his wide steps. Yeah, he's bigger than a brown bear. Eh, I don't know how, but this feels racially motivated. Subject, hey Kira, what's up? I might get stomped. Yeah. You got, oh wait, here's one next to a real person. Oh, nah. Wait, wait, he's 12 feet? He's 12 feet? I didn't even realize this. I didn't even look at this. I'm 5'11", right? So that means that he's taller than me still. Well, I mean, of course, but this guy's taller than me, right? Bigfoot's like 11 feet. That's probably not gonna be a win for me. I'm gonna still fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna still box, but I'm I don't think I'm winning. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I'm winning that. I don't think I can win a 1v1 Bigfoot. See, this is what I mean when I say I go off on tangents. We are watching a video about the most feared criminal in Russia. We are only 4 minutes and 16 seconds in, and I'm trying to talk about if we can box Bigfoot one-on-one.
2001. From May to July that year, 10 people went missing after having been spotted either in or right around the outside of the heavily forested area inside of Bitsevsky Park. All of them were alone when they were last spotted, and all of them were men. Now, there was some precedent for people suddenly going missing in this part of Russia. Every now and again, people would try to flee these suburbs to try to make a better life for themselves somewhere else. But time and time again, they would just come back a couple of days or weeks later because it hadn't worked out. But when these 10 men did not come back in a couple of days or weeks, their families went to police and reported them missing. But unsurprisingly, the police did not launch an investigation. Instead, they accused...
I'm sorry again, guys. You know, I have to pause it. You know, that's just how I do it now. But 10 men, 10 people in general, would make for some good content on the YouTube channel and stream. I'm down to play the game. I've been looking at it for a minute. But 10 people, right? And this is most feared criminal, as in one. If you're trying to tell me one man took down 10 people at one swoop, he had to have literal superpowers. Hey, Amaya. Or, I don't know if I can trust those 10 men. I mean, like, if me and 9 of my friends, or even just 9 people, random people, were taken, unless that man has a, like, you know, got the Glock, or he got, like, something crazy, like a Bengal tiger on a chain, I don't think he's winning this 1v10, unless he's literally Goku.
The 10 missing men of just being drunk bums who probably wandered off somewhere, and whatever trouble they were in, it was their fault. Now, the families and the locals did not buy this explanation, but there really wasn't a better explanation. These men really had just kind of vanished. No one had any idea where they went. And so given the kind of general grim outlook on life that lots of people held in this area, people just kind of accepted that whatever happened to these 10 men happened, and there's nothing any of us can do about it. And they moved on. But in October of that year, so 2 months after the 10th man had gone missing in the park,
okay, so they left in like different intervals.
In the park.
Okay,
and then by
that
the end of the year, 4 more men had vanished inside the park. And all of them vanished under the same circumstances. Last spotted alone in or around the heavily forested.
I know exactly who did this. I know is okay. One man did this. There's only one person that could have possibly took out these many people. You know what else like to fight in 1v1s? Springtrap. It's William Afton. I solved it. 6 minutes in, I solved it. It's that easy. Okay.
area in the park. The families of these 5 men would go to police. They would report their family members missing. But again, the police did not launch any investigation and blamed the missing people for being responsible for whatever happened to them. And then after that, the families kind of mourned the loss of these 5 men, not really sure what to make of it. And locals kind of gossiped about it for a little while and started to speculate about what might have happened to them and kind of lumped them in with the 10 other men that had gone missing. But after a while, when no new news came out about what happened to them, everyone just kind of moved on again. And unbelievably, this pattern would repeat itself for nearly 4 years. From 2002 to late 2005, 25 more people would go missing inside of Bitsevsky
Why
Park.
is she highlighted?
24 of
Oh, why is this
them
one
would be men. One of them would be a woman, although it wasn't clear if she was actually in the same category as the other 24 men. But regardless, that put the total number of mysterious disappearances inside of this forested area in the park up to 40. But still, the police shrugged it off, and eventually, so too did the local population. Everyone just kind of moved on, like this phenomenon wasn't happening, that people were not going missing in droves inside
How do you
of this
just act like it
forest.
doesn't happen?
But everything would
be like-
change with missing person number 41.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. If I'm living there, and I am like this is the life I'm living, and like people would just 25 people are going missing, and they're just like, we're just gonna act like it didn't happen. I'm walking around with a katana on my waist, and you can't stop me. I won't let you stop me. At that point, if you guys won't do anything, I'm keeping a katana on me, at least. Because I'd be damned if I go out without a fight. Because this man has to be having something. I don't believe he's just out there with like a fishing rod and just like, ha, gotcha, and just reeled you in. He had to like do some shady, just like, go sleep, you know? Maybe some like chloroform. See, I can't go out like that. I can't go missing like that. I have to go out in a way where I have to be like boxed. And if I lose, I lost, you know? I walk around with a pet bear. Facts. I'm walking around with the biggest dog. I don't know what dog that is, but I'm sure it's something. I'm walking around with a wolf. Even if it's not my wolf and it's not trained, I'm still walking around with it. Because I have a better chance of surviving that wolf attack than this mystery man. We're just gonna call him William after until we find out who it is.
Because unlike the previous 40, this missing person would
40.
be found again. 63-year-old Nikolai Zakharchenko was a retired police officer who lived in a tiny
He's going after the police? Then we're not making it. Understand, if he's going after the cops, he has nothing to fear except fear itself. And we do not stand a chance. Name the mystery man Bobby. Fine. We'll name him Bobby.
apartment in the southern
Please,
Moscow
Bobby,
suburbs with
have
his
mercy.
family. He was a classic Russian tough guy who chain smoked cigarettes and drank lots of vodka. And even though he was well aware of the missing person phenomenon inside of this park, that wasn't about to stop him from doing the thing he loved, which was going on walks inside of this park. He figured whatever was out there, he could handle it. So one
That's me.
evening in November of 2005, Nikolai
strikes
told
fear
his
into his
sister that he was
victim's
going to
eyes.
go out for a walk in the park. But that night, he didn't come back. And so his family was very worried about him, but they decided they would wait until the next morning to see if maybe he showed up. But the following morning, when Nikolai did not show up, his family went to the police. But per usual, the police did nothing. A few days later, a local was walking fairly deep inside of
Probably
the
the
forest
man
inside of
beating
Bitsevsky Park when they noticed well off the trail, off to the left side, there was something unusual kind of tucked in the underbrush. Now, this local was all alone. They had kind of a bad feeling about whatever this was. And so they called the police and they reported seeing something strange.
Why
And
not
surprisingly,
thinking by
the police
yourselves?
did actually come out and they went over to investigate, and they found this unusual thing was Nikolai Zakharchenko. He was lying face down, he was fully clothed, and he only had one injury, but it obviously had been fatal. He had a massive hole on the back of his head. This was not from a gunshot. This was from massive blunt force trauma. He had been
He had to get the drop on him Cause okay. I'm doing this in complete and utter seriousness. Okay, I want you guys to take me as serious as possible, right? So let's say that I'm Nikolai, right? He's an older dude, so cut him some slack. But imagine, right? And then Bobby walked up behind me to distract me. You guys are Bobby, basically. You guys are Bobby. Pretend you're Bobby, right? You guys are walking behind me, right? And you guys go to swing, right? Right at the back of my head. Boom. I'm gonna weave, right? And that weave instantly gonna lead into a 2-chain combo. It's gonna consist of an uppercut, right? And then that uppercut's gonna lead to like a punch across the face. And he's done. What is he gonna do? Get back up? Surely not.
Struck
Trust me,
so hard that
Bigfoot
literally
didn't like
the
him
back
walking.
half of his skull
Yo, imagine if it's actually Bigfoot. He just like Bigfoot walked him and just
was blown clear off. The police searched the area in hopes they might find the murder weapon or some other clue as to what happened to him, but there was nothing. And so all the police could deduce was that Nikolai had obviously been attacked either by a person or group of people or even an animal, and that whoever his attacker was or whatever his attacker was had clearly snuck up on him, given the location of his injury. Now that the police had a body, and it likely looked like it was a murder, they could no longer ignore the fact that so many people had gone missing inside of this park, and it was looking like probably if they looked around the park, they might find more bodies. So the local police called in reinforcements from Russia's Criminal Investigation Department, and they came to the southern Moscow suburbs, and with the local police, they began searching every inch of this park, looking for more bodies, or just for any indication of who or what was behind this attack and behind all these missing people. But after several days of a very extensive search, where they looked everywhere in this park, all over the forested area, they found nothing. At the same time this huge police search was going down inside of Bitsevsky Park, news about Nikolai's death had spread amongst the southern Moscow suburbs, and people were now getting really scared. Before, the fear of the park felt kind of theoretical because there were no bodies. And so even though it seemed far-fetched, it did seem possible that maybe all these people were getting lost on their own, that they really were just drunks stumbling off. But now, with the discovery that one of these missing people had been horrifically killed, that made the danger associated with this park feel very real. And so it was around this time that most residents of these suburbs stopped going inside of this park in fear of whatever was out there in the forest. And they would forbid their children from going in, and they would tell their neighbors, don't go in the park. And they gave this evil thing that lurked in the forest that caused men to disappear and attack Nikolai, they gave this thing a name. They called it the Bitsevsky Park Maniac. But despite the fear of this maniac causing so many people to avoid this park...
There we go. I don't know if I ever said this. I have no clue. But, like, we gotta stop giving serial killers cool names. You know? Because it's like, what? We're making them sound cooler than they are. Like, if I was just... Okay, hypothetically, if I was a serial killer, and I was like, oh, the macho masculine marauder on the loose, I would probably keep doing it. You know, it's like a being named Batman. But if they're like, oh, the mud butt marauder, his ass is so dirty, then, you know, it's like, I don't want to be known as that, so I'm gonna stop. I want my name to be the Dragon Slayer Turtle. Dragon Slayer Turtle. What would you even done to get that name? You know, I don't want to know. I don't want to know your crime records.
And despite the massive police presence that was in the park, constantly looking for bodies, looking for clues, and just generally patrolling the area, despite all that, people still continued to go missing in this park. Starting just a week after the discovery of Nikolai's body in November of 2005, all the way up to April of 2006, 9 more men would mysteriously vanish in the forested section of Bitsevsky Park. And
Why is
just
it only
like
men?
Nikolai, just a couple of days after they were reported missing by their families, they would be found lying out in the middle of the park with the backs of their heads caved in. But unlike
God.
Nikolai, most of these 9 victims had been found with a glass bottle jammed into the hole in the back of their head, meaning almost certainly this was the work of a human, not some animal. By this point, almost no one was stepping foot inside of the park, because it was basically common knowledge that, a serial killer is obviously on the loose.
I dress up in a turtle costume and go around slaying dragons. I have 2 questions for you, Flash. 1, why would you slaying dragons make you a serial killer? And 2, where are you gonna find these dragons? And 3, why a turtle costume? Man.
Loose in the forest. But despite this, there were still some very stubborn people who continued to go inside of the park. And one of those people was 32-year-old Alexander Pachuchin. He had been born in the southern Moscow
'cause he owns a
suburbs,
cat,
and he
that's
still
why.
lived with his family in the same tiny apartment he had grown up in. It's safe to say Alexander's life had been more difficult than his peers. When he was just 4 years old, he fell backwards off of a swing, and when he sat up, he was okay, but the swing came swinging back and smashed him in the front of the head, causing brain damage. Now, his family did not have the money to send him to a hospital, and so when he stood up after getting struck and he was kind of able to walk around and he seemed okay, they determined he was fine and they didn't follow up. But Alexander was not fine. The injury had impaired his cognitive abilities, and years later, when he went to school, the other kids would bully him for sounding dumb. By the time Alexander was in high
Dragons
school,
are
he
people.
felt like an outcast. He didn't have any friends.
The dragon are people celebrating a holiday, and the turtle costume because the turtle becomes the dragon. Okay. You're talking about like those Chinese, like, I think it's Chinese, like those dragon things that they hold with the sticks, and they're like, they're like, and the turtle because the turtle becomes the dragon. But wouldn't you, once you become the dragon, wouldn't you then have to, get yourself because you become the dragon and you're hunting dragons? And what turtle became a dragon? I thought it was a carp that became a dragon. All out of juice. I've been out of juice for a minute. But I keep trying.
Friends, and he was miserable. But his grandfather, who lived in the same apartment complex as he did, he noticed this about Alexander, and he decided he would take him under his wing and he would look after him. And so the first thing he did is he asked Alexander to come over and he taught him how to play chess, believing that would be something they could bond over. And when he taught Alexander the rules of this game, which are quite complicated, it was like it opened up this secret portion of Alexander's brain that had...
Whoa, what do you mean by you guys? What do you mean by you guys? As in, what do you mean you guys, like us? I ain't no dragon. Then I'll be the Earth Dragon that destroys humanity. I regret asking. I regret
never
asking
been opened
anything
before.
about this
Alexander
topic.
immediately
And then the
absorbed all
raccoon.
this information about chess and became a master of it practically overnight. Within a couple of days of being taught how to play, he was beating his grandfather virtually every time they played together. And so his grandfather was totally thrilled about this and was very proud of Alexander. And so he decided to bring Alexander down to Bitsevsky Park, where all these old men who were total chess masters were always playing chess on all of the park benches and tables.
Little
And
B
so
story.
he brought
I'm liking it.
Alexander down there and he put him up against all of these incredible players. And very quickly, Alexander was wiping the floor with them. And they loved him for it. He was their star. He was their prodigy. They totally adored him and they
dope,
respected
actually.
him.
That's pretty cool.
And when they found out he was getting bullied at school, they made a point of telling him that he would always have a place with them in this park. And so for Alexander, this was like the best happiest moment of his life. He finally felt like he was accepted, and he finally felt happy. And so over the years, even after Alexander's...
You know what, man? Where is it? I don't know which one it is, so we got to test real quick. That's not good. I thought he was doing this before. Because this is the only person that he started talking about.
Grandfather passed away, Alexander continued to go down to Bitsevsky Park to play chess virtually every day. And he kept going to the park to play chess, even when men began going missing in the park, including some of the men he played chess with.
I guess
and
not.
Alexander continued going to the park to play chess, even after bodies began piling up in the park. Alexander's mother was terrified for him and felt like he didn't understand the risk he was putting himself in by going to this park all the time. But every time she pleaded with him not to go, just take one day off from playing chess, Alexander would say, "Mom, I'm going to be fine." And then he would leave anyways.
You got me.
In April of 2006, Alexander was 32 years old and worked for a local grocery store stocking shelves. By this point, at least 50 people had vanished mysteriously in the forested section of the park, and 10 bodies had been found. On the morning of the 12th of that month, Alexander showed up to the grocery store for his shift, and right away he noticed there was a new employee. It was this beautiful older woman he'd never seen before. And Alexander, while he was confident playing chess, was not remotely confident around women. He had never had a girlfriend before. But he found himself looking at this woman across the store, feeling like she was different, that she was more approachable than other women. And so he told himself that day he was going to go up to her and he was going to say hi. And so all through his shift, he kind of awkwardly watched this woman from a distance, kind of building up his confidence. And then at the end of his shift, her shift was also ending, the pair walked outside at the same time, and Alexander was about to say something, but he just couldn't find his voice. And then he noticed this woman had put a cigarette in her mouth, but she was fishing around for her lighter, like she couldn't find it. And so Alexander jumped into action and pulled his own lighter out, and he held it out to her and said, "Hey, can I light your cigarette?" And so before long, the two were chatting, and they were walking together and smoking their cigarettes. And over the course of their conversation, Alexander would learn this woman was named Larissa Koligina, and she was 48 years old, and she lived near Alexander's apartment. And so after they walked for a little while, they arrived in front of her apartment building. And at this point, Alexander knows she's about to go inside. And so he suddenly feels bold and he asks Larissa, "Hey, do you want to continue walking around with me for a bit and maybe do a pass through the park?" Now, at this point, the Bitsevsky Park was totally not a place you would bring people to. This is a place that everyone in the area is basically terrified of. But for Alexander, Bitsevsky Park was like his happy place. And so naturally, if he's going to take a woman on a date, that's where he's going to bring her. And surprisingly, Larissa was very quick to say, "Oh, let's go to the park." And so the two, they lit up another cigarette and they walked across the road and they walked through the front gates of the park. Their first stop was the chess tables along the periphery of the park,
it was like
outside of the forest. And the tables were totally empty. But at this point, that wasn't surprising given the fact that even amongst diehard chess players, really Alexander was the only one still willing to go back in there every single day. And so after seeing where Alexander spent all of his time, it seemed like it was time to turn around and leave. But neither Alexander nor Larissa wanted their date to end.
Bobby alone.
And so they decided to light up another...
Don't change your idea now, Flash. You said that Bobby got Alexander. Don't say that he was the same person now. That's my side. And anyone out there that thought that, Bobby was Alexander, you're on my team. And we were about to win. And Flash knows that.
Another cigarette, and then follow a walking path that kind of looped into the forest and came back out again. And as they entered the woods and got deeper and deeper into the forest, the chess tables that were behind them faded from view, and the sky began to get darker and darker as it was getting late. But the pair just kept on walking, maintaining their cheerful conversation. But at some point, as they talked and walked, the path below their feet stopped looking like the path they had originally set out on. Now they're stepping over broken logs and they're ducking under low-hanging branches, and it's not really clear if they're on a marked trail anymore. But neither of them bring it up. They just maintain their kind of light conversation and continue walking as if nothing's going on. However, they both definitely began walking faster and faster to maybe speed up this loop. But at some point, when it was very obvious they were no longer on a path, they both came to a stop. As they had walked, Alexander had been in front, and so when they came to a stop, he turned around and he looked at Larissa, and right away he could tell there was just something wrong about her. There was a look on her face that just didn't look right.
That was a very scary trail.
Exhausted or sad or something. And then as he's looking at her, she inexplicably kind of collapses into a tree right next to her, and she grabs the tree with her arms and she slides down to its base and she presses her cheek and her chest up against its bark and she begins to cry. Alexander has no idea what's going on, so he just stands there staring at her. And in between sobs, Larissa looks up at Alexander and says, "You're the maniac, aren't you?" Alexander couldn't believe it.
Huh? Okay. Okay. See, I was guessing that this was Bobby. But, and you guys don't know Bobby is the killer. We just named him Bobby. But Alexander was, that's what I was assuming. But, well, how did she know? Did she just like, she's just like, damn. I walked right into the lines then.
She was the first.
That's why there's only one girl. It's her. I think. Yes, it's her.
First person to figure it out so quickly. Normally, he would have to tell his victims before he killed them. And so he smirked and he looked at her and he said, "Yes, I am." And so Larissa, at this point, she lets out this huge sob and she looks down and she keeps crying. And then she looks back up again at him and she says, "Are you going to kill me?" And without any hesitation, Alexander looks at her and he says, "Yes, I am." And then he reached into his jacket and he pulled out a hammer. No one knows for sure.
I'd be damned. I'd be damned if I let him get me with a hammer. He would have to have a projectile weapon to get me. Because either A, I'm outrunning him, B, disarm, done. I noticed it after they said he would go there still. That didn't really set me off because they did the whole thing with like him getting hit in the face. And I thought like, oh, that was just, him holding on to this. But the only reason why I started thinking he was Bobby was because Mr. Ballen has this tendency to only bring up characters that are relevant. And if he didn't bring them up in the very beginning, then most likely they're going to have some very important role to play. Or they're the killer. And also, you notice, like, when he talks about the details, because if he's like, oh, yeah, then this happened, if we are assuming that this is a person that died, how do we know, or how did they know that this is what happened if they're dead? So that means they had to survive, and if they had to survive, that means one of them's the murderer. But a hammer, I don't know. I don't know if I because unless he might have only got drunk people, and also he did hit him. He also hit him in the back of the head. But like her, I would have put the burners on him. He wouldn't be able to catch me. I would have been maneuvering around trees, hopping over things. He wasn't gonna catch me that easy. And the moment he tripped, counter.
Why Alexander became a serial killer, or why he almost exclusively targeted men. Many people believe it might have something to do with the brain damage he suffered as a 4-year-old when that swing hit him in the head, that somehow that rewired his brain and made him more aggressive towards other people, especially men. But that's just speculation. And other than that injury, there really isn't much in Alexander's life that stands out as a big red flag. He just kind of floated about his life and followed the crowd. But in 1992, when he was 18 years old, he got this urge to kill, and he actually decided to act on it. He brought up this desire to a classmate of his named Mikhail Odachuk, and surprisingly, Mikhail says to Alexander, "I want to kill someone too. Let's do it together." And so the two...
Say what you want. Okay, look, I understand he killed some people. I get it. but you can't say that he wasn't a W man's. you can't say you can't say he's not. Because like in my mind, like imagine you're sitting in class or you're sitting with your friend. And he's like, he, okay, you're sitting with him, and he's like, you know, man, I just been wanting to kill recently. What do you mean by that, Bob? Or I forgot his name was Alexander. What do you mean by that, Alex? I just, just, I just been wanting to. I just want to, you know what I mean? Just want to take a hammer or another heavy object and just, and then he's just looking at him like, you know what, Alex? I do too. Let's get active. Like, I mean, he's a W man's for the wrong reason. But he's a W man.
Met up a couple of days later, and they headed off to Bitsevsky Park and began walking around the forest looking for a lone person that could be their victim. And as they're walking along,
Shut up. I didn't forget.
a couple of days later, and they headed off to Bitsevsky Park and began walking around the forest looking for a lone person that could be their victim. And as they're walking along, Alexander, he's fully committed, but he can tell Mikhail is not. He's starting to get cold feet, and he's talking about, maybe let's stop for now and head back and maybe do this another time. And Alexander, he's getting more and more angry and frustrated with Mikhail until finally Alexander decides, my first victim will be Mikhail. And so he turns to Mikhail and he says, you know what? If you want to head back, you can. And Mikhail says, okay, maybe we can do this another time, right? And Alexander says, sure. And so Mikhail turns around, and as soon as his back is to Alexander, Alexander pulls out his hammer and he smashes Mikhail in the back of the skull, causing Mikhail to crumple to the ground, either dead or unconscious. But either way, he's laying on the ground. And as soon as he is, Alexander remembers that they had passed a little while earlier this well kind of hidden in the middle of the forest. And so he grabbed Mikhail's body and he dragged him through the forest over to this well. And when he got to the well, he pulled the lid off of it, and then he picked Mikhail's body up, pushed him up and over the edge, and dropped him inside. And Mikhail fell 30 feet all the way down to the icy water below. And then Alexander put the lid back on the well, he grabbed his hammer off the ground, and he left. An important part of Alexander's killing...
So, Alexander is L man's. Huh. Who'd have thought?
Was this well. This well was not a drinking water well. It was basically an access point to this deep underground sewer system that stretched all around the underside of this park. And so when Mikhail fell down this 30-foot shaft, he didn't just land at a pit of water right at the bottom of the well. Instead, he fell all the way down the shaft until it opened up like the bottom of a huge scientific beaker. It was basically like this big cave at the bottom of the well that was full of very deep water. And so Mikhail would have splashed into that water, which was icy cold, and then after Alexander put the lid on top of the well, it would have been pitch black inside of that space. Now, even if it had been lit up, there was no ladder for Mikhail to climb back out of. And there was a current running through this well because there were tunnels leading...
Wait. There's a manhole that wasn't made for a man to go into. Why isn't there a ladder? I thought that's the whole point of those manholes is so people can go into them. Like engineers or whatnot to go into them to like clean or do whatever they gotta do inside that. I actually went inside of them when I was younger. I'll tell that story right now since we're already here. But okay. So basically what happened was when I was really young, across the street from me, it was these two girls. I think they were like a year apart from each other. There was an older one that was my age or a younger one that was my age and the older one that was just like a year older than us. And I used to play with them, right? And I'll say like around like 5, like I was like elementary school age, like around there like 4th, 3rd grade. So I think I was like maybe 8, somewhere around there. And she dropped this littlest pet shop toy that she got from McDonald's into like the little sewer, like the sewer drain, like sewer sewer drain or rain drain or what, storm drain, whatever you call it. And I don't know why. She asked her grandfather. It was an older man, older, heavy-set man. Kind of looked like Santa Claus looking back. And for some reason, he looked to me, a 7, 8-year-old, and said, "You know what, kid? You should go in and get it." Now, me being the excitable kid I was like, yeah, I want to go inside the sewer drain. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So he gets his ladder, he picks up the sewer drain thing, and then, I go in. I just had to climb to the bottom and grab it. It's not like I'm going on an adventure. I grab it, go right back up, hand it to her, she cleans it. End of story. No, that's not end of story. The weird part is that the weirdest part about it is that her grandpa was like, "Oh, you should give him a kiss." And I was like, "No, cooties." And I remember she literally chased me around the yard trying to give me a kiss. And that's how little baby Shogun got his technically first kiss. I was attacked. It was a crime against me. I'm still pending the lawsuit.
Into it and then out the other side. And so Mikhail, if he woke up, if he was conscious when he hit the water, he would have immediately been swept into another tunnel, and many of the other tunnels that led away.
At least we know where all the men went. They were in the manhole. That it was assault. And I didn't forget. Shut up. I didn't forget if no one told me.
Mikhail, if he
What's up with the chat? Why can't I see names? I mean, I can see names like chat, but I gotta change the font size. That's just some sussy bakas. Okay. I think that's a good size. Done. All right.
he woke up, if he was conscious when he hit the water, he would have immediately been swept into another tunnel, and many of the other tunnels that led away from this cave space were completely filled with water. And so he would have had nowhere to breathe. He would have been sucked into a tunnel and he would have drowned. And so whether Mikhail died from the strike on the back of the head or whether he drowned, we don't know. But he died after being thrown in the well, and then his body was swept miles and miles away to some deep underwater recess where nobody was looking. Alexander would wait another 9 years before he killed again. But once he started up again, he didn't stop. His first kill after the hiatus was in the summer of 2001. His victim was a man he liked to play chess with. In fact, this was a man that loved Alexander and was definitely one of Alexander's friends that regularly played chess with each other. And one day in May, after a game of chess, Alexander asked the man if he wanted to head into the forest to pay respects to his dog, who he had buried out in this forest. And he told the man he was going to have a sip of vodka over his dog's grave. And so this chess friend of his agrees to go with Alexander because he loves Alexander. He's a good friend of his, and says, absolutely, let's go pay our respects to your dog. And so the pair begin walking into the forest, and at first they're on a trail, but eventually Alexander says to this man that you need to leave the trail in order to get to the gravesite. So the man says, yeah, no problem. And so they get off the trail, and they're walking for a little while until they reach the well. And when they get to the well, Alexander stops and kind of points to some arbitrary spot on the ground and says, oh, that's where my...
He was like, checkmate. I finally win, Alexander. And Alexander was like, you're real funny. Good game. Good game. Hey, I'm gonna go pay respect to my dog. I just buried it a few days ago. You wanna go with me? I mean, sure. Yeah, sure. Just kind of out of nowhere, but sure, I'll go. Good. That's great. Come on, it's just off this road. Let's go. It's like, damn. Hey, some people can't take the L. But Alexander's definitely L-man's. He killed 2 of his friends. That's crazy. It wasn't like bullies. At least if it was bullies, I'd be like, okay, I don't agree with murder, but like, At least, like, in his point of view, will be justified. This is just for no reason, just to be an L man.
My dog was buried. And so Alexander pulls out a bottle of vodka and he takes a swig and then he hands it to the man, who does the same thing to kind of do this commemorative drink for this dog. And then afterwards, Alexander looks at his friend and kind of gestures with his arm to get the man to, take them back out of the forest, back out to the chess tables. And so the man turns around and begins backtracking. And as soon as he does, and his back is to Alexander,
He wastes no time.
Alexander pulls out his hammer, he walks up behind his friend, and he smashes him over the back of the head. And then just like Mikhail, he drags this man's body over to the edge of the well. He pulls the lid of the well off, and then he lifts this man up, and he dumps him into the well shaft, and then he puts the lid back on top. Alexander continued to lure his victims out to that well, and all of his victims were people he knew. They were his chess friends. They were his neighbors in his apartment complex. They were anyone he had a personal relationship with. He would later say that that was his preferred victim. He liked to know
That's
the person he
nuts.
was killing. It made him feel like God. Amazingly,
Like
it would
God.
turn out not all of Alexander's victims who were chucked into that well actually died. Victims number 16 and 17, who were a pregnant woman and a 13-year-old boy respectively,
So that's a double kill with that's a triple kill? Triple? Or
after
attempted
they
triple
had their
kill.
heads smashed with a hammer and they got chucked into the well, their clothing got caught on a snag poking out of the inside of that 30-foot shaft, and it literally arrested their fall and kept them from plummeting all the way into the water. And somehow, in both instances, Alexander didn't notice. He just put the well lid back on and walked away, believing they were both dead. But
What a
they
more
weren't,
EXP.
and after they regained consciousness, they were able to kind of claw their way back up the well shaft and pulled themselves out of the well. Both victims would go to the police, and both of them would positively identify who their attacker was, Alexander. But the police didn't care. In fact, they told both of these victims that they needed to drop the charges and leave them alone. And if they didn't, they, the police, would come up with something to have both of them arrested, the victims. And so Alexander got away with it, and the victims were literally in
What for what? For what? How hard? Okay, realistically, right? So even if the police are bad, which they are, right? Or these police in this specific situation, Alexander had connections, facts. Who would know you made so many friends off a chest? But okay, like I'm assuming like they just didn't want to do the work, right? I'm gonna give benefit of the doubt, not saying like they're Alexander's friends, because that means that they're on the shop. Wait. Didn't he say a police officer got bopped?
intimidated by the police to stay quiet. And so that led to dozens and dozens more murders. In April of 2006, after Alexander told Larissa he was the maniac and he was going to kill her, he walked behind her as she cried and continued to hold on to the tree, and he wound up his hammer and brought it smashing into the back of her head. And then as she slumped to the ground, he hit her several more times in the back of the head with the hammer, and then he pulled out a vodka bottle and he jammed it inside of the hole, and then he left. 2 months later, Alexander would lure another woman out into the...
He tried to have an accomplice, then he got bopped. Guess he's more of a Batman fan than others.
the middle of the forest with him. Her name was Marina. She was 35 years old, and she had met Alexander while working at the grocery store with him. She actually was hired to work at the grocery store to fill Larissa's now vacant spot. Before Alexander and Marina began their walk out to the park, which was Alexander's suggestion, Marina said she just needed to stop by her apartment to let her son know where she was going. And so they swung by her apartment. Marina went upstairs and she left a note for her teenage son saying where she was going and who she would be with, and she even left behind Alexander's name and his phone number on this note. And so when she came back out again and she and Alexander began walking towards the park, Alexander knew that if he killed her, which was his intention, that he would certainly be caught. The police were on super high alert at this point, and they would certainly get their hands on this note, and that would absolutely implicate him, and so he didn't really know what to do. But by the time they were strolling into the forest, Alexander had decided he was going to kill her anyways. And many people believe he did this specifically to get caught, not to protect the public from himself, but because he wanted fame. He wanted recognition for what he had done. This theory stems from the fact that starting with his 41st victim, Nikolai Zakharchenko, Alexander began leaving his victims' bodies out in the open. He stopped putting them into that well. And he wouldn't just leave them out in the open. He would prop them up in strange poses against trees, and he would jam glass bottles into the holes in the backs of their heads, indicating he wanted the police to find them. That way, he could get all the credit he believed he deserved. When the police did finally arrest Alexander, they searched his apartment and they found this notebook. And in this notebook was a picture of a chessboard. Now, a chessboard has 64 squares on it, and in Alexander's notebook, this chessboard had 62 of the 64 squares filled in. And Alexander would explain to police that that was his scorecard. He had 62 victims. It would turn out 2 of those people had actually survived, the pregnant woman and the 13-year-old boy, but still, there were 60 murders accounted for in this notebook. Alexander would be fully cooperative with police and would tell them every detail he could possibly remember about every single killing, including what conversations were like with the person he killed right before he killed them. He would also often reenact what he did to the person and how he felt afterwards. It was very clear that Alexander was reveling in the attention he was getting from law enforcement, and it was very clear that he loved talking about killing. Ultimately, the police were only able to gather enough evidence to charge Alexander with 49 murders, not 60. And when Alexander heard this, he was totally disappointed, and he asked the judge if he could get credit for the other 11 murders to maintain his 60 victim mark. The judge said no. During his trial, Alexander was deemed to be such a threat, he was kept inside of a glass cage the entire time. And during the proceedings, he showed no remorse and in fact seemed kind of happy, like he was enjoying the spectacle of his trial. He was ultimately given the harsh...
I'm not laughing. Okay. I'm not laughing at what's going on. I'm laughing at this guy. Doesn't it look like the suit's too big for him? Does he look like he's wearing like someone else's suit? I'm just saying. I mean, I would want credit too. I mean, yeah, I guess. If I put in all that work, I guess I want to get credit for it. I mean, like, yeah. I just mean, like, bro, man only could get kills by getting stealth kills. He couldn't really box. Like, maybe if he was like, oh yeah, I wrestled them, and then like once I beat him, I beat him into submission and I killed him. Then maybe it's like, yeah, okay, sure. But you had to wait for them to turn around. If one man had some kind of perception, or one person had, or that one woman had perception, just weave, you know, it's wraps. It's wraps. And this is why I always walk fast. This is why. I never want to walk too slow in front of someone. Because what if they're Alexander? I'm about to get bopped and thrown into a manhole. So I'm walking fast. And if I hear someone walking fast behind me, guess what? I'm going to walk extra slow and step on their foot. They ain't going to be ready for it. I'm a brake check them.
Happy, like he was enjoying the spectacle of his trial. He
would have gotten double XP if you got that pregnant woman. Oh, God. Hey, she made it though. Respect. And if she was pregnant, that's big respect.
Ultimately given the harshest penalty under Russian law at the time, which was life in prison without parole, and the first 15 years of his life sentence would be in complete and total solitary confinement. So virtually no human interaction, kept inside of a cell 24 hours a day with nothing in his cell all day long. Alexander is still alive today, and he is still in solitary confinement. So So that's going to do it, guys. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please
Well.
offer to help build the Like Button's new dresser they got from IKEA. And as soon as you open it up, take all the screws out, strip them all, and then leave. Also, please.
All right. Mr. Ballen is a force to be reckoned with. Not only was he a Navy SEAL, okay, you're kind of meat riding. I'm not gonna lie. Not only is he a Navy SEAL, respect this one, respect, but he holds the power of the strange, dark, and mysterious in his hands, and he can pull off a flannel. Now he's kind of meat riding. You know what I mean? Like the Navy SEAL, sure. If he just said Navy SEAL in this, but the flannel one, flannel. Yo, you scared. I thought it was Alexander about to bop me. Oh my god. Oh no. I wasn't ready for that knock. I heard, I was like, no, no. I really thought it was about to be over for me. Damn. I really thought Alexander knocked on my door. I was ready though. Because the moment he would, okay. The moment that he would have popped into my room, right? The moment would have came here. Okay, the door's right there. The door's just right here. You guys can see it's off screen. I would have, boom, pushed back, right? Boom, eye contact. Pretend like you're Alexander. Boom, eye contact. You're feeling lucky, punk. Bam, initiation. He goes to swing. Ooh, he wasn't ready for it. Oh, he misses me. Hit the arm of the chair. Boom, catches his arm. Bing, bing, bing. Directly to the neck. Why? Because if I punch him in the neck, he's gonna crank his neck like this from the punch. So he's gonna, right? That's when I grab him by the jaw. I got him from inside the mouth, the jaw, pull down. Why? Because now he has to look up at me. So he has to, right? And now I got that. I'm gonna use that immediately. Boom, eyeballs, blinded. Right when he get blinded, moving straight to the katana. Thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap and flash. You're done. You're done, Alexander. The darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole. So don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. I'm telling y'all, Alexander wouldn't stand a chance in my environment. Alexander said, I heard you watch my kill cam. Rest in peace to all the people that died. Not a jail. His victims must have felt overwhelming. Why? Rest in love. Okay. I was expecting some funny comments. I don't know why. Sometimes people are funny. What? Huh? First, I don't know what that says. Two, why is there a line? Makes sense that he had a preference to kill men, but killed two women, attempted on one who survived. Two queens. Oh. Ooh. I feel like we can do one more. Yeah, we can do one more. But that's clever. So he was gonna kill those two women to be the queen of the Tekken 101 video, love Tekken, favorite YouTuber. But she was gonna kill two women to be the queens. I wonder who he thought would be the kings. What if he was gonna okay, hear me out. What if after he got all of almost all of them, he was gonna be the last one, he was gonna be the king. Or one of the kings, and let's say his friend that he started with was gonna be the other king. I wonder what he if that's true, I wonder where he placed everyone on the chessboard. Okay, well, which one should we do next? We here. Literally worst day ever. Tried to jump over it. Man did the unthinkable right before takeoff. Oh, I thought he was outside. I was like, he's outside. Let's do man does the unthinkable right before takeoff. Abandoned mine. I want to do something that's gonna mess me up because I'm very claustrophobic. So like mines and
Today,
stuff
I'm going to
works
share
well.
the story behind one of the creepiest videos on the internet. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format,
I am.
then you come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 2 or 3 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please go to the like button's house, and as soon as the like button sits down to watch their favorite TV show, start violently vacuuming right in front of the TV. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn
I did
on all
not think that's what he was
notifications.
about to say. Hiking in Japan. This video's only 17 minutes. We can probably do both. Low key. Which one was that? Man did something right before takeoff. Yeah, this was the other one we watched, right? Yeah, I remember that. Back in Japan. We'll watch that one too. That's what, 19? Okay.
Today, I'm going to share the story behind one of the
I
creepiest
love
videos on the
stuff.
internet.
You're
But before we
crazy.
get into
You're
today's
actually
story,
insane.
if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and
I
mysterious
hate it
delivered in story
just
format,
because I have very
then you come to the
broad
right place
shoulders.
because that's all we
So
do.
like
and we
sometimes when I'm
upload
like
2
sitting
or
in
3
the
times
middle of
every
two
week.
people, I have
So
to
if that's
kind
of
of like
interest to you,
condense my
please go
shoulders
to
in,
the
so
like
like I'm
button's
not
house,
like
and
pushing out
as
against
soon
it.
as the like button sits down
It
to watch their
sucks.
favorite
I couldn't
TV
imagine being
show,
stuck somewhere
start
where like I can't
violently
even like
vacuuming right in front of
because
the TV.
realistically,
Also, please subscribe.
if I was in a situation where I'm next to two people, and let's say like if I just didn't care, I just didn't care, right? I can just push my shoulders out and just like sucks for them. But if I'm like in a cave or like something condensed, I'm kind of just like stuck like this. My biggest fear is being buried alive. That too. That too. Like anything where like you're suffocating, I hate it. I think that's where most of claustrophobic come from for me. Like the claustrophobia. Just like knowing that I'm not gonna be able to breathe as good.
Subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads.
Okay,
All right,
ballen.
let's get into today's story.
Horton mind.
In the summer
Oh,
of
it's a video?
2013, a middle-aged man named Frank pulled into a tiny town
Hey, yo,
in Nevada
Aki.
called Kingston.
I'm gonna
Kingston,
Frank.
which is home to less than 100 people year-round, is so small and desolate and cut off
Aki.
from the rest of the state and really the rest of the country that they don't even have stoplights. It's basically just a collection of a handful of buildings like a laundromat and a saloon that are surrounded on one side by this huge mountain range and on the other just open desert. At the time, there were really only 2 reasons you would find yourself in Kingston, Nevada. One, if you lived there or were visiting someone that lived there. Or 2, if you were going to visit the abandoned mines up in the mountain that are right near Kingston. Frank was in Kingston for the latter. For the last 5 years, Frank had been traveling all over Nevada.
I seen a video of a guy burying himself alive in a coffin and digs his way back up. Nah, I can watch
in
that.
California and just
I
the
couldn't do
West
it.
Coast in general, exploring abandoned mines. And he would film himself while he was in there, and then when he got back to his house, he would upload the footage to his YouTube channel. When he arrived in Kingston, Frank had already uploaded 302 videos to his channel.
made
But
me
despite the very high number of videos on his channel was still very, very small, and it wasn't growing really at all. So for him to be dedicating that much time and energy into making these videos indicated that he wasn't really doing it for YouTube fame. He was doing it because he had a passion
It's
for
on YouTube, I
exploring
think.
these mines,
If you can
and he
find me the
wanted
video,
to
I'll
share
watch
it with the few people that subscribe to his channel. And when you look through the first 302 videos
Actually,
on his
exploring abandoned mines and using Frank's what's Frank's YouTube? Tell me ballin'. Show me ballin'. Oh, thank you, ballin'. We might have some more content to watch. You might have
his
something else to
channel,
dive into.
that passion of his really comes through. He always knows the history
You
of
don't
the
remember her name,
mine
Misty?
he's about to go into, and when he goes inside, if he finds machinery or pieces of equipment that have been left behind, he immediately knows what they are, and he speaks about them with relative sophistication. He has this lingo that sounds like he understands mines on a really granular level. So when Frank arrived in Kingston in 2013, as far as we know, the only reason he was there was just to do do what he always did,
Let's
which
go
is
find an
go
abandoned
explore a couple
mine or
of cool
cave to
mines,
explore
film
with the
it,
whole gang. Now, the thing that okay, I don't mind going to like abandoned like places or even like abandoned sewers. I don't have an issue with that. But mines are a whole different ballpark because that's like mines. Okay, mines even when they're used, like back in the day when they're used, were unsafe. Like those are like just at any moment they can collapse and you just be done. You know, it just wraps. So you think I'm about to go in there after that? Nah, I'm cool. I'm cool. Cause like imagine, okay? Imagine it's me, you, and let's say Dad. Me, you, and Dad, right? And then we're walking, and we all just get separated. Then what? Now we're all walking around, and then you can't really call for no one, cause then what's the chance you're gonna answer? You're gonna be like, hello, 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 hello. Anyone there? Anyone there? Anyone there? Anyone there? And it's wraps. And it's wraps. You know? And that's just the way it is. That's the way that cookie crumbles.
and then put it on.
Let's go find a haunted house and stay the night. I've been to a few haunted places. Or at least like we assume they're haunted. I'm down to go to a haunted. I'm down. I'm down to go. I'm down to go to some haunted place, but not to spend the night. Because I feel like if I spend the night, then it's like, then I'm inviting them to come home. You know, like, oh, sleep over round two. Now you come to my house. You know, and I don't know if I'm confident with letting them sleep over here. I think my house is already haunted, so like, I don't want them to fight because I won't be able to watch it. I'll just be a bystander. I don't know if I can vibe with that.
On his channel. Except this time, Frank's adventure into these mines right outside of Kingston would be cut short by something he just could not explain. However, he captured it
My
on
old one
film,
was?
and it's terrifying. The two mines that Frank was
Good luck,
intending
brother.
to visit were the
I hope they
Victorine
follow
mine
me.
and the Horton mine. The Horton mine was constructed first in the late 1970s, early 1980s, and when they built it, they expected it to be a gold mine, but there
Man, you should shit yourself if you spent the night somewhere haunted. I swear I caught it trying to sneak up on me. Nah, I'm good. See, like, okay, if I'm with other people, okay, and you guys will see this if I ever play scary games with someone, is that I tend to find it funnier watching people get scared, and it makes me less scared. And like when I'm watching someone get scared, it makes me so it just releases all the ease. Like if I'm there with like let's say me and Flash go. I have a habit, like if you're getting scared, I'm not gonna be scared. It's just I will find it funny that you're getting scared. It makes me feel better. But if I'm by myself or in a room by myself, nah, I'm gonna need a cuddle buddy. I ain't gonna cap. You have to scoot over. I'm hopping in that sleeping bag with you. You know what I mean? And also like mice. I don't really rock with mice like that. Bugs, bats, birds, homeless men, horny homeless men. I ain't doing all that. When I get scared, my soul leaves me, or I back out before it gets me. I don't know. I don't know if I can like spend the night. Like being there is like enough for me. Like being in a haunted place for like 2 or 3 hours, that's fun. That's probably the most I can do. Unless I'm in like what was that boat? The Mariana Trench? Or no, the that was I don't know. It was some boat and it was like haunted. And like you actually go there and spend the night. And it's like it's still haunted, like it's still just a boat on like on the pier, but it's like a haunted boat, like that's the whole thing. How would you go there? Because it seems like it's relatively clean, you know, proper. So, one day we should do that. One day we should just get a few of us and all get our own room and just stay there. Now we gotta do at least two a room, if not all a room.
there was no gold inside. So they constructed another mine about 900 feet above where the entrance to the Horton mine was. They built this other mine, and inside of that mine, there was gold. This second mine they built was called the Victorine Mine. When they built the Victorine Mine, they bored this massive hole right outside the entrance to the Victorine Mine that went straight down 900 feet directly into the mountain, and this big hole they drilled went right into the Horton Mine. This was on purpose. They were basically building the equivalent of a laundry chute, except instead of tossing laundry down it, they would toss the ore they drilled from inside the Victorine Mine. They would drop it down the chute, it would fall
We gotta buddy up. Knowing my luck, I'll accidentally get picked by the ghost. Hey man, I'm luckily unlucky. Who knows? That might be a fortunate pick. Cause think about it. If you befriend the ghost, right? You befriend that ghost. That's a new level of clout. You got the afterlife clout. That ghost is gonna be hyping you up to all the ghost friends. Be like, yeah, this guy Flash. He's that guy. He's that guy, pal. I'll tell you what. That man woke up in the middle of the night, went and made himself a bowl of cereal, went back to his room, and didn't make a single noise. I almost didn't even know who was there. It's crazy. That's a new level of fame that some of us will never achieve.
900 feet all the way to the Horton Mine, and that would save them from needing to carry all of this ore all the way down the mountain. Basically, it was a shortcut for the ore. And in the Horton Mine, they built this huge conveyor belt system so that anything that came off of the chute would land at the beginning of this conveyor belt, and it would get brought all the way outside of the mine where workers could process it and bring it to town. Finally, in 1989, the Victorine Mine ran out of gold, so they permanently shut down that mine as well as the Horton Mine. These two mines were located about 4 miles to the west of Kingston's town center. And so when Frank pulled into town, he moved to the western side of town and then found the access road that would bring him out to these mines. And so he just drove on this road that basically shot straight towards this huge mountain range. And after traveling about 4 miles, he reached this very sharp right turn that basically went straight up a mountain. And at this point, there's no more pavement on the road. It's a very narrow trail. It's hard to see. And so Frank would have parked his car, grabbed his camera and his equipment, and begun walking up this mountain. After quite a while, Frank would have passed a couple of rundown old cabins that were kind of overgrown. These cabins were used when the
That ecstasy, it's different.
these mines were in operation. They helped service the workers while they were out there. But since the mines were abandoned, so too were the cabins. And so when Frank got to these cabins, that would have meant he was very close to the entrance to both of these mines. Frank first went to the Victorine mine, which would have been very easy to spot because right outside of its small entrance was this huge piece of what looked like scaffolding, and that was actually the opening to this huge chute that shot down 900 feet to the Horton mine below. So Frank goes to the Victorine mine and he has a look around, but either Frank didn't film his time into the chute that shot down 900 feet to the Horton mine below.
Okay. All my Attack on Titan fans, this is 274 meters. I know what you guys are thinking. So what? The Colossal Titan is only like 60, right? You know, like 60 meters? You know what that means? They can fit like more than like 3 Colossal Titans down there. That's insane. If you fall down there, it's not even like a question if you would die. It's not even like a question, like you're basically falling damn near from the atmosphere. Well, probably not that high, but you're falling pretty high.
So Frank goes to the Victorine mine and he has a look around, but either Frank didn't film his time inside of the Victorine mine or he just didn't upload it because there's no video of him actually going into the Victorine mine. His camera is turned on this particular day when he's left the Victorine mine and he's walked all the way down to the entrance of the Horton mine. And so we see this video, it opens up with the camera pointing at the entrance to the Horton mine. And the entrance to the Horton mine is very very bizarre looking. The entrance, which is 20 feet tall, has all these long strips of metal plating that have been kind of anchored up all around the entrance to prevent the entrance from caving in on itself. But despite whatever functional value these copper plates might have had, the aesthetic result is very creepy and makes you not want to go in the entrance. Also, because this mine had been shut down, there's a big gate right in front of this already very foreboding entrance that warns people to not go inside. But Frank seems totally unaffected by this and just strolls right up to the entrance of Horton Mine, and he kind of talks about its history, and then he calmly steps over this warning gate telling people to stay back, and he begins walking into this mine. Right away, Frank notices there's quite a bit of water on the ground, and that's cause for concern.
Okay, we can go in here and just take a quick look. I don't think I'm going to explore this particular mine. There's a little bit too much water in here, and I know this mine is really old, but I just don't think it's wise to go in here when there's water. Try to avoid this if I can.
Frank's not concerned that there is water.
Smart guy.
It's that the water might be stagnant water. In these abandoned mines, there can be poisonous gases that accumulate, and when there is stagnant water, those gases get absorbed into the stagnant water. And so if Frank were to step into one of those puddles of water, he would release those gases from the water, the so-called bad air, and that can actually be deadly. But as Frank is standing there wondering if he should proceed, he looks down off to the left side, right inside the entranceway, and he notices there's some footprints. So somebody must have come in here recently, and so Frank decides, you know what, I'll go a little bit further in, I'll just be really careful of the water. Frank makes it about 10 feet inside of the entranceway when he lifts his camera up and he looks straight down into the mine, and you get your first look at really what the inside of this mine looks like. And right away, you notice there's this yellow kind of collapsed looking tubing that's hanging down from the ceiling, and that's the old air filtration system. And then when Frank moves maybe another 5 or 10 feet farther into the mine, you see in addition to this air filtration system, there's also all these metal chains that are just kind of dangling from the ceiling, and they're all over the place. And both the tubing and the chains seem to extend all the way into the tunnel out of view. Those chains were previously used to hold up the conveyor belt that stretched the entire distance of this mine, which is 600 feet long. They held that conveyor belt up, which carried all of the ore from the chute out of the mine. Even though Frank has seen similar setups in other mines he's been into, he would say on camera that there's just something really off about this mine, that it was really sketching him out, and he wasn't really sure if he should keep going.
Yeah, this looks pretty sketchy.
At least he's on his...
I'll go a few feet further in and check it out, but I think I'm going to pass on this one.
He would later reflect on that feeling he had inside of the mine, and he would say, you know, it felt like there was somebody else in that mine watching him. It was just very, very uncomfortable. And so as Frank is debating whether or not he should continue, just based on this kind of bad vibe he was getting, he looks down and notices there's actually running water now. Before at the entrance, it was stagnant, but now he can see the water inside of this mine. It's not stagnant, it's running, and so the risk of breathing in any bad air is pretty much gone, meaning this mine is relatively safe. But despite this supposedly positive development for someone who wanted to explore a mine, Frank is still not sure if he should continue.
This is one of the creepiest mine tunnels I've ever been in, just because of how dilapidated it is, and all these chains hanging down from the overhead, and there's a shot looking down the tunnel even further of it.
But despite his...
Are y'all going in? Are you guys going in the tunnel? Be honest. Would you guys go into that tunnel? Because me? If I was in this situation and I'm by myself, I probably wouldn't. Well, I can't say I would. Honestly, I couldn't say I would. Only if it's with you. Listen, Flash. There is no sum of money in this great blue world that will ever get me to go into that tunnel. Ever in my life go into that tunnel. I gotta have a buddy. Cave buddy.
apprehension, Frank ultimately decides, you know what, he'd come this far, I'll just go a little bit farther. And so Frank makes it to about 100 feet into this mine when he turns around and he films the opening, the entrance to the mine, which is all lit up with sunlight. And he films it kind of to give the audience a sense of just how far he had come into the mine. And so then, after filming the entrance, he turns the camera and he films back.
Nah, it wouldn't look so freaking sus. You know, sometimes you gotta take that sussy chance. I think Flash is the only one that even like teeter-tottering between going in and not.
Down towards the back of the mine, towards the actual end of the mine. Now, at first, you don't see anything unusual. You just see the chains, and it looks kind of like it had for the first couple of minutes of this video. But then Frank pulls his flashlight out and he shines it down the hall.
Looking down the tunnel here.
Wait. Is Mr. Ballen just telling us what's going on in the video? We could just pull up the video now. Couldn't we? Ew. Grilled cheese sandwich, but there's a plum. And why is it red? And why is there onions? This grilled cheese ain't looking. I don't know if I'd rather watch it on Mr. Ballen's after that one. I'm sorry. We're not ready for you yet. Ooh, it's swinging. How's it swinging? That's what I was thinking. It was like you were reviewing a guy reviewing a video. I wouldn't say I was
I don't know why that
reviewing.
one chain is swinging back there.
No, I'm gonna review Mr. Ballen's video. Review. I got you.
As we saw, Frank's initial reaction to this swinging chain is speechlessness.
As you see, Mr. Ballen reacting to Frank's speechless reaction to the chain swinging. He's very confident and also very exuded of the swagger Mr. Ballen exceeds with.
And then just sort of this weird statement of fact that he's like,
Mr. Ballen appears to be puzzled by Frank's commentary.
I don't know how that chain is swinging. And then after staring at this chain and even zooming in on it, trying to kind of figure out what he's looking at, Frank eventually would just turn off his camera, turn around, and leave very quickly. And when he got back to his house, he uploaded this video to his channel with virtually no context. He just said, this is what I saw inside of the Horton mine, and nothing happened. It didn't go viral. It isn't like everybody went crazy when they saw this footage. Instead, I think his audience, they saw this video and didn't really know what to make of it. And then very quickly, his audience and Frank just kind of forgot about it. And Frank got back into making his kind of traditional videos. Then, about a year later, the YouTube algorithm kind of noticed this Horton mine footage that he had uploaded back in 2013, and it went crazy viral. And immediately, this video was put under the microscope by YouTube personalities, by TV personalities. I mean, everybody was just kind of taken aback by this footage. And what was determined fairly early on was the actual video itself was authentic. Frank really did film a swinging chain in the Horton mine in Nevada. The question became, who swung the chain? There are many people that believe Frank swung the chain, and this is all just one big hoax, and they point to some of his newer videos after this video went viral, where it appears that Frank is kind of actively going out to find paranormal activity versus just going out and exploring mines. And so they point to that and say, look, he's looking for this stuff. This can't be authentic. This video has to be fake. But others say, look, Frank is just a guy who likes going into mines, and he films the inside of these mines. He's been doing it for years and years, and he just happened to be in one when something unexplainable happened, and he happened to catch it on film. And the only reason he began kind of actively looking for paranormal activity after it went viral is because kind of overnight, his channel exploded, and he suddenly had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subscribers that all came from that swinging chain video, and they all wanted the same thing: more swinging chain videos, more paranormal content. And so, seeing a great opportunity, Frank went out and began looking for paranormal content. That's why most of his videos, after that video where the swinging chain happened, are kind of geared towards fishing for that kind of stuff. But that first video, that swinging chain video, there wasn't really a good incentive.
Okay, Flash, we gotta have a meeting. Okay, we gotta have a little talk. First, it was you and the monkeys. Sorry. Then it was you and the raccoons, and now it's you and Bigfoot. What's up? What's up with these animals? You want to talk about it? What's going on here? Yeah. There it is. That's what we're talking about. That here. Let me. This right here. You guys see it. Good talk.
For Frank to fake it at the time he uploaded it. Obviously now you can say, oh, well, he staged it because he wanted it to go viral and he wanted to become famous and then have this great YouTube career. Look, it's all in front of us. It's so obvious. But how could Frank have possibly predicted that video would go viral? Going viral is so hard and it happens so rarely and it's nearly impossible to predict. And so how could Frank, who had uploaded hundreds and hundreds of videos before and none of them had come anywhere near virality, how could he have said this is going to go viral? It's just such a long shot. It also seems very uncharacteristic for Frank to have been diligently uploading on this YouTube channel, which was basically a passion project, for 5 years.
We gotta talk. Sorry, I gotta break Mr. Ballen. That's how serious this is getting. Okay. You're animals. You're all animals. Your behavior. If I can send you to a timeout, I could. If I can just give you like a little slap on the wrist, send you to the corner, I would.
He's uploaded 302 videos, and all of them are the same. He's posting the same type of content very consistently for the same small, loyal following, and then out of left field, he uploads his ghost video with no context. Even if he was trying to go viral with this video, he would have known that the most likely outcome would be that the video did not go viral, and instead his small, loyal following that was used to a particular type of content would see this video and be like, why did he upload that? Yeah. Or worse, they would think, is he faking this? Is this a hoax? And if so, that would totally tarnish his reputation and he'd lose probably.
My thing is like, how would, like, okay. So making a viral video, it's not like you make it and you can like, you can go, oh, I think this is going to go viral. You know, like you can have that conversation when you post a video. But when he saw it didn't go viral, because like I think he said it was like 2013 when he posted and like it didn't get viral until like years later. After like a week, he would have been like, oh yeah, it's not going to get viral. And he would have either deleted it or, and the way he even titled it, he didn't title it like, oh, ghost sighted in the cave. He just like, oh, this is what I seen in the thing. You know?
Some of his precious few subscribers, I mean, it just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze. But regardless, even though lots and lots of people have said, you're lying, Frank, you're lying, Frank, you're lying, Frank, he said, I'm not lying. I was in the Horton mine. I filmed what I filmed. It's up to you what you
sealed off.
So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments.
I didn't see the secret. I'm sure someone's going to tell us. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. We got one more Mr. Ballen video. We're going to do 3. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Oh, wait. He pins it, right? So that means it should be up here. Ghost at 421.
Where workers could...
Oh my. I didn't see that at all. I'm glad I didn't see that, low key. That would have messed me up. But this video wasn't that bad. It was kind of just him reviewing a video that we could have watched. Don't go hiking. SOS.
Japan is comprised of 4 major islands. The north
You good, Mr. Ballen? You good? Has someone checked up on Mr. Ballen? That was kind of weird.
northernmost island is called Hokkaido, and on Hokkaido,
Hokkaido.
there is this beautiful national park called Daisetsu-san
Well, there are a few people
that is
that get
nicknamed the Playground of the Gods, because the park is basically all these huge mountains that stretch up into the clouds. The tallest mountain inside of this park is Mount Asahidake, which reaches an elevation over 7,500 feet, and it is a very popular hiking destination.
One Piece,
The
yeah.
trail that brings you to the summit
Hokkaido.
of Mount Asahidake is considered relatively straightforward. It's pretty much just a straight line. But there is one very tricky spot. On the way up, as you get closer and closer to
Okay, guys. I want everyone to be on their alert for like the secret picture that he leaves in the videos. If any of you guys can find it, I'll I don't know. I'll do something. I'll write your name down, and then in every stream for the next 3 streams, I will say your name in the beginning. That's on God.
the summit, the trees
you
begin
guys
to
can find it, though.
disappear,
If
and
you
you're
guys can
left with this kind
seriously
of
find it.
open landscape
Or at
where
least just
the
say what it
trail
is.
becomes fairly ambiguous. It's hard to know where you're going. And so hikers are instructed to look for a landmark, which is this big square boulder that's known as Safe Rock. And once you get to Safe Rock, apparently the rest of the trail is easy to identify and follow all the way up to the summit. There's a catch though. In the same area as Safe Rock is another large square boulder that looks exactly like Safe Rock.
That's
And this
unfortunate.
imposter is called False Safe Rock. If a hiker confuses False Safe Rock for the real thing and then attempts to take the path leading away from the imposter, they will be led down a path that many people have gotten lost on. At first, it will
Why not
feel
just get
like
rid of
you
it?
are making progress towards the summit of the
Wouldn't that be
mountain,
easier?
but eventually the trail begins to gradually go downhill. Now, you would think that would be a fairly obvious red flag if the trail is going down and you're trying to go up to the summit, that probably something's gone wrong here, you've taken a wrong turn. But put yourself in the mind of someone who's made this mistake. In their mind, they reached the landmark of Safe Rock, although it was the
That's true.
imposter, False Safe Rock, and so they think they're on the right path. And if this is their first time being on this mountain, which a lot of people it is, they'd probably convince themselves that they've gone the right way and just keep on going. And so if you just keep on going and you don't recognize this mistake, about a mile away from False Safe Rock, you enter into this valley that's completely overgrown with thick bamboo. It's very swampy, and there's lots of very steep cliff drop-offs. And once you go inside of this area, you can't see anything because the bamboo is so tall and so thick, and so it's very easy to get turned around, and
kinda
it's
cool,
pretty
actually.
easy to accidentally walk off of a cliff. And so over the years, hikers who have accidentally taken the trail leading away from False Safe Rock have gotten lost in this treacherous area, and not all of them have come back. In July of 1989, 2 men from Tokyo were hiking up the trail towards the summit of Mount Asadake when they reached what they believed was Safe Rock. However, it was not. It was False Safe Rock. And so when they followed the trail leading away from False Safe Rock, it was not long before they were lost in that valley overgrown with bamboo. That night, when these 2 men did not come home, their friends and family called the police, and a search was launched for them. Over the first couple of days, there was no luck. They could not find these 2 guys. They had no idea
Hear me out. Hear me out. Alexander Goes to Japan. It's a sequel, baby. It's a sequel. World trip.
where they had gone. They looked all over the swampy area thinking that's where they might be, but they couldn't find them. But then on July 24th, a helicopter was flying over the mountain over an area that had not really been thoroughly searched. It was just to the east of that valley with all the bamboo where they expected them to be. And this helicopter pilot, as he went around a corner, he got a view down to the midsection of the mountain, and he saw this big, wide open clearing. And right in the middle of this clearing are 3 huge letters.
Bobby
They are
wanted to
spelled
change the
using
scenery.
birch logs, and the 3 letters are SOS. SOS is an international code used to signal extreme distress. People who go missing or who get stranded somewhere, they will try to spell the 3 letters, SOS, as big as they possibly can, and then they will camp out near their signal in hopes that someone will see it and then come and rescue them. This helicopter pilot that's seen this distress signal immediately flew over the letters, expecting to look down and see the 2 missing hikers from Tokyo. But when he was hovering over the SOS and he's looking down, there was no one there, despite the fact that this was a wide open area. They are not in the Bamboo Valley anymore. But either way, he signaled to the rest of the search party that he had found their SOS signal, and before long, more helicopters and search teams were brought over to that area. And then several hours later, a search team that was on the ground, who was walking about 2 miles north of this SOS signal, saw these 2 very haggard-looking guys come out of the bamboo brush, and they come walking up towards them, and it turns out it was the missing men from Tokyo. They were very ragged, they were dehydrated, famished, and they were kind of on the brink of death, but they were alive.
Here, you know what? Oh wait, it doesn't even matter if I move it. I forgot how to set the window. You know, I'm gonna figure it out. Copy. I'm gonna open it in a tab. You guys can't see it. And I'll just check where it is.
Went around a corner. He got a view down to the mid. Went around a corner.
Can't even tell, and they told me where it is.
Went around.
I don't know. I don't know.
Alive, and they were extremely happy to have been found. And so a helicopter was brought in, the 2 men were flown out to the nearest hospital, and then after receiving medical care, it was determined they would both make full recoveries. Excited by this news, the pilot and some of the other rescuers went to the men's hospital room to pay them a visit. And over the course of their conversation, the pilot brings up to the 2 men that they were really smart to build that SOS signal, that in fact, had they not built the SOS, it's unlikely anyone would have found them. And as soon as the 2 men heard this, they kind of reacted to it, they looked at each other, then they looked at the pilot and they said, "What SOS signal? We didn't make an SOS signal." After asking the men several questions to make sure they really didn't make this signal, the pilot and the rest of the searchers said, you know, we have to go back to the mountain. We have to go back to the SOS signal because somebody else has made it and they need our help. And so early the next morning, the searchers went back out to the mountain, back to the SOS signal to scour the area all over again. And shortly after they began this search, one of the searchers found this deep hole underneath the roots of a tree. And in this hole was a backpack. And in this backpack, amongst other things, was a driver's license and an audio recorder. The license belonged to a 25-year-old Japanese man named Kenji Iwamura, who 5 years
25?
earlier had been staying at a lodge near the mountain, and one day he had left, and on his way out, he had told the owner of this lodge that he was going for a hike to the summit of Mount Asadake. A couple of days later, when Kenji was supposed to check out of the lodge, he didn't, and so the owner went to his room, he knocked, but there was no answer, and so the owner used his master key, he opened the door, and when he looked inside, there was no Kenji, but all of his belongings were still there. And so the owner thought that was odd.
I just thought about something. That had nothing to do with Kenji, but when I said that if y'all can find the thing, I'm kind of dumb. You know why? Because I forgot y'all can just really go to this video and then just go to the comments like it's not the first comment. You guys can just go to the first comment and he tells you what it is and what time it shows up.
Because the last time he saw him, he was going out for this hike, and so he put 2 and 2 together and thought, you know what, I think this guy's in trouble, so he called the police and reported him missing. A search is launched for Kenji, but Kenji was never found, and so there was always this mystery about what happened to him. Fast forward back to 1989, and these searchers are looking at this backpack, they've just looked at this license, and then one of the searchers reaches in and pulls out the audio recorder and hits the play button. What they heard was very disturbing. It was the sound of a young man, presumably, who was very distressed, who was calling out for help. And it's believed this young man is Kenji. In Japanese, he very slowly and deliberately says, "I'm stuck on a cliff, I can't move,
Why do I taste the fun of
SOS,
it?
please help me. I'm at the spot
We'll go back to it.
where I first saw the helicopter,
I'll explain why I thought of it when we come
but
back
the
to it.
bamboo is too thick, I can't move, please lift me up out of here, SOS." Here is a clip of the actual recording.
Okay. I was saying SOS.
At this point, it seemed fairly obvious to police that based on the proximity of the backpack to the SOS letters and the fact that the recording, which was in the backpack, had Kenji literally saying SOS. He says this on the recording, that Kenji must have been the one who built this SOS sign.
I mean,
He
I'm
must have built
assuming.
it back in 1984 when he got lost.
Oh,
And so now that the
1984.
police believed they had solved the mystery of who built the SOS sign,
Damn, it took
they
them a
now
minute.
needed to figure out where this person went. Where was Kenji? And so
Kenji.
over the next several hours, searchers continued to
God.
look around the immediate area of where this backpack was found, and soon they would discover something that, according to police, solved this 5-year-old mystery. They figured out what happened to Kenji. Now, there is no official police narrative, at least not online, that explains step by step what happened to Kenji. So what I'm about to share with you is what I was able to deduce from all of the official reporting that I could find online. In 1984, Kenji left his lodge and headed for the summit of Mount Asahidake, and on the way up, he most likely mistook the false safe rock for the safe rock, and just like the two men from Tokyo would do 5 years later, Kenji went down the wrong path and got lost in that valley covered in bamboo. At some point, Kenji stopped trying to find his way back to the trail and instead tried to just go down the mountain any way he could. And so as he's making his way through this very thick vegetation and this bamboo, he eventually gets to a point where he lowers himself down over this ledge and he lands on this cliff. And as soon as he lands, he looks over the edge and he realizes he can't go any farther. It's too steep, it's too dangerous. But when he turns around to try to climb back up, it's also too steep. So he was trapped on this ledge. And so there on this cliff ledge, he sits and waits, hoping that someone has reported him missing and they will come and find him before he dies. And at some point, as he's sitting there waiting, a helicopter flies overhead. And Kenji most likely was elated. He probably believed they saw him and he thought he was going to get rescued, but the helicopter would eventually just fly away, giving no indication
Okay.
of whether they had actually seen Kenji. And so for what must have been at least a couple of days, Kenji sat on this ledge expecting this helicopter to come back, but over time he gradually came to the conclusion that that helicopter had probably not seen him and they were not coming back. There was no rescue party inbound for him. And so it was around that time, as he's having this horrible realization, that he pulls out that audio recorder and he records that very eerie and distressing message where he's calling out for help and saying that he's stuck on this ledge. And then after he was done, at some point, Kenji came to the conclusion that his best chance at survival was not waiting for some helicopter to potentially come back, because at this point that seemed really unlikely. Instead, his best chance and perhaps only chance was to try to climb down this cliff right in front of him that he had already determined was way too dangerous.
Really?
And so
Down? I
Kenji
would've
lowered
climbed
himself
up.
and began climbing down this cliff, and
guess I gotta see what it looks
miraculously he got all the way to the bottom where the ground leveled off without serious injury.
Oh.
And so from that point, he just kept on walking down the mountain, trudging through all this bamboo, until he actually leaves the bamboo and enters this huge clearing on the side of the mountain, where basically it's devoid of any vegetation besides some birch trees off in the distance. And it was in this clearing that Kenji would construct that SOS signal, believing that was his ticket out of there. But unfortunately, it was not. 5 years later, after searchers had just located Kenji's backpack underneath the roots of that tree, they would go on to make that huge discovery that solved the 5-year mystery. And that discovery was a partial human skeleton laying nearby. And eventually, that skeleton would be determined to be Kenji's. And at this point, the police said they were not suspecting foul play in Kenji's death. However, they did not release his exact cause of death. It's unclear if they just could not determine it or if they didn't want to release it publicly, but either way, we don't know what it is. And then after that, the police just closed the case and said, okay, we're done. But to the people who had been closely following this story, because this was a big deal at the time in 1989, they thought the police were kind of missing something. There was this obvious, huge discrepancy that they all figured the police were going to address at some point, and now it seemed like they weren't. And a lot of people felt like this is not a discrepancy you can just sweep under the rug. This is a really big deal. And that discrepancy was, how could Kenji have made that SOS signal? As a reminder, the 3 letters SOS that was found in that clearing, they were made with 19 birch tree logs. Each letter was 16 feet tall and 10 feet wide. And each log, each birch tree log that made these letters up, they were all about the same length and appeared to have been expertly cut, indicating they had been chopped with an axe or some other cutting tool. And where this SOS was actually located in that clearing, it was several hundred feet away from the other birch trees. So on top of the enormous effort that would go into cutting down 19 trees with an axe, and I can assure you that cutting down a tree with an axe or a hatchet is way harder than you think it is, Kenji would have also had to expend a lot of additional energy just dragging the...
Okay, so what I think is that someone else got stuck out there. They had an axe. They cut down the trees. They made the SOS, and this might have been after Kenji, like between those 5-year period, right? And then they made the SOS, and then somehow they either found their way out or they died. But I'm going to figure it out. They found a way out, and so they left it there. Because, you know, they're home free. They have no reason to be like, hey, I left the SOS out there. Be careful. But then also just so happen to be close to Kenji. At least that's my...
He felled logs over to the area where he actually built the signal. Basically, this was a gargantuan task that even for someone who was fit and healthy and strong in the best of conditions, they would still struggle with this. And so the idea that Kenji, after being missing in the wild for several days, he's probably dehydrated, he's famished, he's tired, he's sore, he's scared, he's in the worst possible shape you can be in, the idea that he pulled this off is kind of unbelievable. And in fact, the person who did Kenji's autopsy would say that Kenji was not physically capable of putting together that SOS signal. He was just too weak. And there's another complication to factor in. There was no axe or any other cutting tool found anywhere near the SOS signal, near the skeleton, near the backpack, nowhere. There was no cutting tool. So either Kenji did have an axe and somehow mustered the superhuman strength necessary to chop down 19 trees and then he built this SOS signal, in which case, why didn't the authorities find the axe? Or Kenji did not have an axe, in which case, why were there 19 perfectly cut birch logs just laying around in an area that virtually no one...
Or, what about this? Okay, new theory. Kenji did have an axe, right? He did have an axe, but he wasn't the one who made the SOS. He had the axe, but after he, wherever he ended up, someone got the axe from him. Or, you know, same theory. Someone was after Kenji, or not after him, but someone came after, not chased him. After Kenji, passed away, someone else got stuck down there too, and then they had an axe with them, so they made the SOS, and then they found a way out, or they're dead, either or.
Went intentionally. When the police just would not answer these simple questions about the axe, people began coming up with their own theories as to what happened. The most prominent theory was that Kenji was not actually alone. This would explain how he went...
He traded the axe for some food from Bigfoot.
About building that SOS signal via help, and it would also explain why Kenji's family, when they heard that audio recording for the first time, they said, that doesn't sound like our son. And so according to this additional person theory, That recording wasn't of Kenji. It was of this other person, this additional person. People who subscribe to this theory also point out that originally the skeleton was not classified as belonging to Kenji. It was classified as belonging to some unknown female with type O blood. The media and the public went crazy at this revelation, and very quickly the police were being hit with lots of questions about this development.
That's crazy.
Which they had no idea what to say about it. And so they looked kind of bad in the media. They didn't have very many answers. They didn't have any leads. The pressure was building. And then all of a sudden the police say, oh, we looked at the bones again, and it turns out they were not type O blood female. They were actually type A blood male, which conveniently is the same sex and blood type as Kenji. Some say this was a pure fabrication by police to very conveniently tie up all the loose ends.
But then that also raises the question, why was the driver's license? I assume the driver's license was Kenji, like undoubtedly. So why would that be in there if Kenji didn't have some part of it? I'm assuming. So now new theory time. It was Kenji and a girl. They were hiking together. They both got stuck. No, because that video didn't sound like a girl. So the only way this idea could work is if there was 3 people instead of just 2. Because if the person on that recording didn't sound like Kenji, that means there had to be another guy that recorded using that recorder. But it's not like he could just find a recorder, like find Kenji's old recorder and then use it, because it was in the bag with the driver's license under the tree. So it just raises a lot of questions.
Of a case they were doing a very bad job solving, that in reality, those were not Kenji's bones. Kenji's still somewhere out there. We haven't found him yet.
He's not.
And those bones belong to
bones
some
are.
unknown female with type O blood. And she was the additional person. But the reality is, even if this additional person theory is plausible, it's highly unlikely it will ever be looked at seriously by authorities, because at this point, the case is considered closed. So as of now, the only thing we can all say with certainty is that an SOS sign on the side of this mountain saved the lives of 2 men from Tokyo in 1989. But exactly who the sign builder or builders were, and then what happened to them, still remains a mystery for many people. So that's going to do it, guys. If you found the secret in today's episode, let us know in the comments section what it is and where you...
Okay. So this is the reason why I find a hard time believing that this was authentically seen. So the thing is a logo, right? An iGen logo.
Went around it.
Right? No, I don't exactly know what an iGen logo is. I'll look it up actually. I mean engine, sorry. Engine. So okay. It's crazy how different the lighting gets when I switch it. But so this is what I assume is the iGen logo. Where is that here? Oh, this? Nah, I'm not buying it. I don't know what logo it was, but I saw something different in the transition. Nah, I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it. No way. You wear glasses. No way your blind ass saw it right here. No, I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe you've seen it. I didn't even know what an iGen was. I didn't know engine was a thing. I didn't even know what company is this. What do they do? Fictional genetics company. It's from Jurassic Park. It's not even real. I have no idea what iGen is. You tell me, okay. You want me to believe that you saw this for like the millisecond that it was on the screen, and you was like, seen it. It's this little blue text, the blue on blue with slightly gray, with all this other gray text on this blue helicopter. You want me to believe that's what you seen? You want me to believe that's what you snagged from this? I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it. It's fraudulent. No way. That has to be cap. Either you're capping, or you have the best vision of any blind person I ever met. You have even better vision than me if you saw it for like. Wait, actually, let's see how long it was on screen.
Alley with all the bamboo where they expected them to be, and this helicopter pilot, as he went around a corner.
I saw something on the scene. I went back and watched the original video, and I was like, "What is it? What is that?" And then I read the comments. You just reported. You just self-reported. You read the comments. What's in the comments? Oh, I wonder what's in the comments. I wonder what's this in the comments. I literally never cited eyewear glasses. Nearsighted eyewear glasses to see far. Okay. I am buying it. I am read the comments, you little sneaky, cheeky bastard. But I still saw something. Yeah, you saw something. Saw the comments. Okay. We've been streaming. It's 1:07 in the morning. Damn. We've been streaming for 2 hours and 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Alright. We've seen what, 3 Mr. Ballen videos? I think personally I like his murder mysteries. I like trying to figure out who the murderer is, or figure out what went on before he tells us. Things like this are cool. Like the cave and this are cool. But I like to have stakes. Call me a carnivore the way I like steaks in my stories. But okay. Lol, Maya self-reported. I saw her in med bay. Yeah, she said that. See, look, she had us going when she said, I saw something on the screen. I went back and watched the original video. Okay, if she was that I went back and watched the original video and just saw like the clip, or I just saw like I went back to look at that exact frame, maybe she could have got away with it. Just a small chance. But when she said, I was like, what was that? And then I went to the comments, that's when you lost me. But I saw before I read the comments, I had to look it to confirm. But okay. There's a lot of stuff going on in this helicopter. And when I went to go check, like, off screen, I couldn't tell what they were talking about. Because they said, like, the logo. And I was like, okay, is it, like, a logo here or somewhere? You telling me that as you were going by, you saw the little words that said Jen next to all these other words. And you were like, ah, yes. The sign. Goofy. But it was a good video by Mr. Ballen. Give him a clap. Round of applause for Mr. Ballen. A good video. 3 good videos. I still can't believe you got me with that knock thing though. That knock really got me. And I was still thinking about that. I was like, damn. I had to, like, after hearing that, I had to be on guard. It's like any second now they could redeem that clap and just catch me off guard, and I'll be emotionally famished. Okay. Alright. Well, it was a fun stream. It has been a fun stream that I wasn't expecting to have. I appreciate everyone for being here. Appreciate everyone watching the VOD. Oh wait, here, let me make it more intimate. I'm sorry. There we go. I appreciate everyone for watching the VOD, for being here. If this goes on YouTube, I appreciate you guys for watching on YouTube. I appreciate everyone in the comments, except for you, Maya. You cheating, dirty rat. Going to the comments section trying to be slick. And you would have got away with it too. Hey, Siren, welcome. Oh, Siren, welcome. you you actually got me for a second. For a second, my heart went to my ass, and you almost got me. Oh yeah, I forgot you guys hear it the same way too. So you guys are probably, damn, Alexander on both of us. I have to start once I get channel points. That's definitely gonna be something I gotta make a high amount of channel points. I can't let that just be like a zero. That's too dangerous. If I'm playing like Phasmophobia and you guys hit with one of those, I don't know. I might have to end the stream. But okay, okay. All right, we had a lot of fun. It's getting late. Everyone, get your sleep. Make sure you drink water, or really any liquid. Honestly, just drink liquid. Eat. Don't go sleep hungry. Okay. Okay, you sussy, sussy, sussy. Wait.
You're
Sussy.
such a silly baka.
Silly backers. I'm gonna not drink for 3 days straight now. Okay. Okay. You listen here. Okay, Siren, you listen good. You're gonna drink some water. Alright? You know what's funny? I have the exact same noise on my soundboard, and I thought that I clicked it by accident. I was like, but you're gonna drink some water. You're gonna stay hydrated. You're gonna stay healthy. Or so help me. When you go to sleep, I'll be sitting behind your door with a glass of freshly filtered water. Imagine there's water in here. I'm just sitting there looking at you like, and every time you blink, I get closer. And then you're gonna blink one too many times. I'm just gonna be like, drink up. Flash, maybe you're too dangerous with this. Maybe I should make it only cost money for you. Put you behind a paywall. But okay, okay. We had fun. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of Bigfoot references. Oh wait, let me play some outros. It's actually probably a little too loud. Okay. But we had a lot of fun. I'm gonna probably not go to sleep. I've been playing Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt's so fun. I recommend everyone who has a PlayStation or a PC to play it. It's free. I love you. I love every time I scare you. One of these days, I'm gonna scare all of you. I'm gonna scare all of you, and you're all going to I'm gonna revel in my victory. I never found a reason to use that. I've been waiting. I've been plotting on it. But okay. Okay, this has been W Stream. Got a lot of fun, a lot of conversations. Oddly based around Bigfoot. We talked about let's do a quick stream recap. It's getting too late. I can't talk. Okay. First video we watched. My eye. Okay. Then off topic. First video we watched was the guy hitting people in the back of the head with a hammer, and then he didn't respect an upfront fight, and now he's in prison for life. Then second video was about a guy. It was a review of a video by Mr. Ballen, reviewing a video that we could have watched, and I was reviewing Mr. Ballen for reviewing the video. Hammer time. And then this video, the one oh well you guys can see it, but the last video was about a mysterious SOS sign and a maybe or maybe not lost lumberjack and possibly Bigfoot. And Bigfoot ties in with all three of these stories. Actually, it's the only thing connecting all three of these universes together, which are all from this world, but separate universes. But yes, rest in peace, everyone who died in all three of these videos. Oh, well, I guess no one died in the second one. I guess, wow, indeed. Wow, indeed. But okay. Alright. Okay. You guys can all hit your stickers before I go. Yep, just go ahead. Yeah, let's get them all out there. Just put them all out there before I end the stream. All right, everyone, get your sleep, get your rest. Hey, I got a little crown. Got a little crown dookie. Yo, one of these times you... What's that? Oh, potato. That's some dramatic ass music. But one of these times those knocks are gonna be real.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Wow.
Perfect.
Okay. I love everyone. Hope everyone has a great night or a great morning or afternoon wherever you are.
Easy.
Hello.
Wow.
And good